Hi guys, this is the August 2018 Patron Ask Me Anything stream. I don't know why this opening is it's like one of those horrible SJW clap tweets. Horrible SJW clap tweets. Let's get started here. How you guys doing? Let me pull up my questions. We have 55 questions. Better start whispering now. I know you guys live for that, so I'll do it anyway. Okay. And first question. Ree, you're always getting in here with that first question. How do you do it? Share your secrets. Let's see. Does my hair look weird? Yeah, kind of. Didn't help at all. Okay. You talked about the Reformation in a previous video. Did you study much Christian philosophy, and do you think there's much of our movement can learn from it? Example, Augustine or Lutheran views of self-determination. I did study a bit of Christian philosophy. I forgot most of it, so I don't know. If there is something we can learn from it, then I hope someone teaches it to me. Yeah, I read a bunch of Augustine back in the day, but like, I ain't reading that shit again. I'm so sorry. Tia Benedict says, I am noticing that when people seem to wake up from their Fox News bubble, it is because they started listening to something like Chapo Trap House. But aren't they just entering another bubble? How do I know I am not one of the bubble people? Do some bubbles serve a useful purpose? Is everyone living in a bubble of some kind to protect us from full-on reality? Oh yes, I mean, I think that those Breitbart people, they're locked in some kind of bunker, and I'm locked in my own bunker, and neither of us can ever change our minds. Except, I think that it's not that simple. Like, you can make an effort to be more... I mean, this is something I do in my videos, right? You can engage more with arguments like I do in the incel video, where I'm trying to, like... I'm not just, like, shutting down incels reflexively because they disagree with my worldview. I'm kind of making at least an effort first to, like, genuinely see things from their side. That, I think, is, like, a good philosophy kind of practice to do. You want to see things from the side of a viewpoint that you don't yourself hold, right? So you want to look through those that person's eyes. I think that's a good exercise to do, and that's kind of a check against getting too much in a bubble, I think, because I think one issue with bubbles is that, like, not only do you live in a bubble where you sort of only receive a certain set of information, you actually have no idea really what other people believe, because you sort of just believe a caricature version of other people's beliefs, right? You think that you know, I think, you know, I could easily slide into a position where I think that right-wingers are just kind of a caricature of themselves and not make an effort to see why they feel and think the way they do. So I suppose that's my answer to that. Gavin End says, I feel like a lot of toxic behavior exhibited by men is a result of valuing themselves against the ideals of masculinity, or rather as a result of shame at the thought of being found lacking. Further, I think that many men are threatened by the erosion of the concept of masculinity and have no sense of place in a world without it. Do you think there's a need to explore a new positive form of masculinity? And then you have a few follow-up questions. Should we get rid of masculinity, or should we... is masculinity totally fine? How do we save men from masculinity? Okay, so what I think is that masculinity is not inherently bad, and we don't want it to go away, do we? We certainly do not. We want it to just become a masculinity. There needs to become a version of masculinity that's a little less, like, destructive to men and to women, to everyone, right? Because masculinity as a set of values in our society, like, doesn't work. And so there needs to be a vision of masculinity that's like not just oh, I don't know, the toxic version. Allison Dark says, so you talk about your background as an atheist a bit, but if you found empirical evidence there was an omnipotent, oh boy, omnipresent God, and said God manifested as a man before you, all Jesus like, what would you say / do to him? Teal dear, what would you say do to God made flesh? I'd ask him for stuff, to be honest. Like, I would ask for like jewels that were like shinier than earth jewels. Like I would I would want like God jewels, you know. I think that's a reasonable request. Dymphnomaniac says, I love this waltz. Can you guys hear the music? It doesn't matter. It's for me, not you. You've done videos on pickup artists and incels. Will you be doing one on MGTOWs? Probably not related, but when we get to see Vampire Natalie. I've thought about doing a MGTOW video, but to me, I would need to be convinced that, because to me, of the three groups, MGTOWs, pickup artists, and incels, MGTOWs are the least interesting, because it's basically the same ideas as pickup artists and incels, but the MGTOWs are just kind of, they've given up in a more boring way than the incels have given up. MGTOWs are just like your average like whiny person on the internet. There's like a radical feminist version of MGTOW too, like just someone who's like ideologically cloistered themselves and resents the other sex. That isn't a super interesting phenomenon to me in and of themselves, but you know, I sort of touch on MGTOW ideology when I'm talking about other manosphere ideologies, certainly. Vampire Natalie, it's coming. There will come a time for Vampire Natalie. Maybe when I'm older. Suck the blood from the youth to steal their skin. Melissa Boyko says, do you take style inspiration from fashion bloggers, Instagrammers, models, etc., trends or otherwise? If so, could you list some favorites for us to follow? I love your videos. Thank you, Melissa. Well, let's see. What do I follow on Instagram? I'm always so bad at like summoning, like people ask me for recommendations of things. Who do I follow on Instagram? GG Gorgeous, Steph Senyati. You guys know who these people are already. A bunch of nail and wig sellers, which I'm using for costumes. A bunch of drag queens. A bunch of teenage makeup vloggers. James Charles, Thomas Halbert, etc. More drag queens, more nails. Trace Lizette. She's a trans actress. Carly Kloss is a model who is my height, so I stan. That's probably a sufficient answer. I hope. Avi Finkel says, is your use of multiple characters in your videos an intentional attempt to recapitulate the dialectic structure of classical philosophical works? I mean, totally. Like, I'm just a digital Plato, no big deal. I think it sometimes occurs to me that that's sort of what it is, that there's like some like Plato in ContraPoints. That was never like my intention, but it is, I think it's a fair comparison. I think I'm, you know, if anything, at least as smart as Plato. Probably 3 or 4 times smarter. Shiva Gunnery says, I've recently started scripting my videos, and while I've seen, I'm in a weird mood today, guys. I'm sorry. It's the caffeine. It's making me very confident. I've recently started scripting my videos. And while I've seen a huge uptick in content quality, I've really struggled to figure out how to read/memorize my scripts. Do you use any kind of teleprompter, or do you memorize your scripts outright? Any tips for people who are just starting out? Okay, so here's what I do. Some people do use a teleprompter. I probably should, but I don't. What I do is I have the camera, I have my like script on a screen, on a computer screen, like near in front of me, and I memorize one line at a time. Then I look up at the camera, I say the line, memorize the next line, look up at the thing, say the line. It all gets put together with jump cuts. So that's how I do it. It's, you know, you don't want to film a YouTube video where you're just reading off a script. That it just looks wrong. It looks boring. You look boring as a presenter. You don't look like you care. Whereas if you're speaking straight into the camera, it's more natural. It takes time to practice too, because you want to be speaking right into the camera, looking right into the camera, but also not be like staring. I don't know. It takes time to get a natural feel for it. But that's how I do it. Brandon Reed says, "Hi Contra, I wanted to ask this question on the Discord, but sadly I will be working tomorrow at the same time of the Discord AMA." That was yesterday, Brandon. Oh wait, no, you left us 2 days ago. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm dumb. You're not dumb. Okay. I know this is a silly question, and I want to know: do you watch anime / read manga? If so, what's your favorite one? What are your thoughts on anime in general? This is a very common question, isn't it? Yes, I like some anime. I like especially Satoshi Kon, Paranoia Agent, Perfect Blue, Paprika. These are kind of my faves. I just watched for the first time Ghost in the Shell last night. Sorry, not last night, last weekend. And I thought that was cool. I was like, when I was watching, I'd never seen Ghost in the Shell before, and as I was watching, I was like, The Matrix is like plagiarism. so many Western movies turn out to be plagiarism of anime movies. Like The Matrix is absolutely just like the aesthetic is so Ghost in the Shell. So yeah, I like that. I'm not like a huge anime fan, but I like some anime. Where was I? Alejandro Herrera. This is probably the most important philosophical question you'll ever be asked. Fuck, marry, kill, Foucault, Derrida, and Jacques Lacan. Easy. I would definitely marry Foucault. I guess fuck Derrida and kill Lacan for sure. Round 2, Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir, they count as 1. Camus, Nietzsche, easy. So definitely fuck Sartre and Beauvoir, marry Camus, and kill Nietzsche. Easiest question I've ever been asked. Okay. Thank you, dear. Sean Dearden says, "Is an Age of Empires 2 stream a possibility?" Absolutely. I would love to do that. I think I ought to have done it earlier. And actual question, what do you think of Susan? I love Susan Sontag. I feel like I talked about her in a stream earlier, but yeah, I haven't read her in a long time, but I remember like a few years ago when I was reading Susan Sontag, like really liking Susan Sontag. Anyway, her like notes on camp and her actually we were just talking about Camus. She has a review of Camus that's very good. Damn, I sound smart right now. Sound fucking smart. Some days I'm better than other days. R says, "Who are some of your favorite film directors and what it is about their movies you love?" Well, I really like Werner Herzog. I like his, like, I know it's a little pretentious, but I really love the movie Grizzly Man, which is like, because it's like 2 documentaries in one documentary. There's like Timothy Treadwell's documentary about his life living with grizzly bears, and then there's Werner Herzog's documentary about Timothy Treadwell's being murdered by grizzly bears. And I like that way that Herzog's like nature documentaries, they kind of they're not really about they're about people as much as they're about nature. Like he has that documentary about Antarctica. What is it called? I can't remember. They look up Werner Herzog Antarctica. He's a documentary about Antarctica. That's like, it's about the people who live on Antarctica, but it's also about Antarctica. And he interviews like the ice cream machine repairman and also the Lyft driver and the scientists. So it's about just everyone. And he's a very human, like, documentarian. I don't know. I also just like his accent. I find it very relaxing. I don't know. So there's one. Someone else can ask a director question. We can do another director something. I don't think I've talked about Herzog in here before, so that's new material. Wednesday, La Rocha almond bottoms for Alpha Chad Joseph Stalin. Wow, you're gonna be annoying when I put your name in the credits. Hey Nat, what do you think? What I usually do with those names is I split them onto multiple lines. What do you think of the argument that people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders, self-identifying as democratic socialists, does actual socialism a disservice since their proposed policy positions have little to do with actual socialism? Expanding the social safety net is nice and all, but it ain't exactly seizing the means. Yeah. I don't know. To me, this is a question of essentially marketing. Is socialism a good word for them to use, in terms of political campaigning? If it's a good word for them to use, then they should use it. If it's a bad word for them to use, then they shouldn't use it. So that's, to me, I don't know. Someone should do market research. I'm sorry that I talk about this like a capitalist, but the reality of the situation is that elections are cynical. And I used to work on a campaign. My next video is kind of about this. And I used to work on a campaign, and the things that people when you talk to the average voter, the reasons people vote, it's this is not founded upon reason. Right? That's not the reason people make decisions. It's alas, stories and emotions and suspicions. So that's basically I think people who with too much education tend to fail to really be able to think. It sounds very pretentious, right? Very elitist, but I think it's true that people with too much secondary education or tertiary education tend to forget how a normal voter thinks, and I think that hurts us as a country. Oh, and follow up. You felt that that Catherine's jab at John Oliver in my profile was petty and unnecessary. Yeah, I didn't need to bash John Oliver, but I kind of appreciated the John Oliver bashing because I personally do get annoyed a little bit with that Daily Show non sequitur style of joke where it's here's a serious thing about Trump and then a joke about turtles, and then it's back to Trump. You know what I mean? Whereas I do try to the joke is the argument, and the argument is the joke. That's I try not to do that non sequitur style. Okay, Matthew Chabin, Matthew Chabin. I don't know how to pronounce this. Hi Natalie, new patron here. I hope I can catch one of the Discord sometime, but I live in Japan. Yeah, that's hard. Okay, starts out with gushy fanboying. Appreciated. Thank you, dear. No boy. Okay. The thought. Becoming more the person you are was the thought that came to mind. It reminded me of something Schopenhauer said about the empirical character as a manifestation of the intelligible character. Oh boy. That what we appear to be outwardly is just an imperfect expression of our true, immutable, inmost nature. Does that resonate at all? Do you think it is a useful way of thinking about gender transition, i.e. an expression of transcendental freedom? Could a cranky, sexist 19th century philosopher be invoked against reductive shitlord rationalizing? I think I actually take the opposite view. I think I take more of the Wittgenstein pragmatic view, which is that the self is invented instead of discovered. So I know that's actually, I think more trans people do actually think of it the way you're suggesting, that by transitioning they're actually realizing this inherent essence or singularity that's always there. They're that their exterior appearance is kind of finally becoming like the inside's finally matching the outside. That's like sort of not, that's not really the sense I have, to be quite honest. Like I kind of want to pretend that it is, because like I think I would be like more, I think it's like a more attractive thing to say about yourself, right? Like I think people might be more attracted to me if I was like, I am expressing the true feminine essence of my being. But like the truth is that like I designed this. Like femininity is something that I've worked on, and like it's an invention, it's a creation of mine, as much as it is a discovery, you know. I mean, just kidding. I'm just like this naturally. Thanks for the question, Rachel Pre. I watched Megan Tonhays talk about I don't know what his name is. Talk about the Jacksonville shooting yesterday. Oh yeah, I heard about that. And basically said there are things she doesn't address or talk about for fear of feeding trolls or putting herself in danger, doxing, physical violence, etc. Do you feel restricted as well? I feel like you really wade into the belly of a beast in terms of pissing off angry white boys with access to guns, which is amazing, but do you take measures to protect yourself as well? Yes, I take certain non-disclosed security measures. But yeah, you're right. I do deal with the worst of it, and it is something that I'm afraid of. I worry especially about meetups that I do right now. It's where I've been doxxed, you know. So for me, it's like 2 martinis before bed every night, and try to fall unconscious and not think about it. That's kind of my life now. But I sort of knew what I was getting myself into, at least. So here we are. Becky Lashua says, do you think that it's possible that this whole anti-feminist, anti-SJW, anti-leftist trend on YouTube will start trending back down? I worry that they've overtaken so much of the internet, but I wonder if there is any hope in the horizon for this being a weird phase of our online culture. Thanks. Yes, so I think it's already largely phasing down. Anti-SJW YouTube, as it existed in 2016, excuse me, lots of Diet Coke, is a pale shadow of what it was. Or it's now a pale shadow of what it was then. And I think mostly that has to do with demonetization. Those videos were clickbait, most of them, right? Most of them, they were quality videos. They were eye-catching, right? They got attention, they got clicks. But that stuff's demonetized now. No one's making a living on that. And Patreon, you know, that you can't fund You can't fund a channel like that through Patreon, because people don't want to pay for your garbage content. Like, people don't pay for clickbait. Why would they pay for that? So I think anti-SJW YouTube like is kind of done. Is the internet going to continue to be used as a medium of like reactionary organizing and propaganda? Oh yeah, definitely. So we just have to keep our eyes on it and see what happens next. My guess is that it becomes more corporatized and less like grassroots grassroots right-wing propaganda. That is basically what YouTube was a couple years ago. Skullgun says, what nationality is Lady Foppington? Oh, I think she's English because she speaks like the Queen. But she's always going over to Paris to go to the salon to speak with the Enlightenment philosophers of her day about the Chad circumference. Robert Secundus says, any advice for someone who's going to be failing out of academia soon after 6 years, is trying to start a non-academic career in his 30s with no skills, contacts, applicable beyond the classroom? Well, you go is going to teaching. I know some people who tutor, who were in academia and who now make decent money tutoring high school students, so that's an option you could pursue. I wasn't or you can teach high school, you can teach at a private school, that's not a bad job. I never really figured out how to use my degree for anything post-grad except this, so I am maybe not the best person to ask, but the friends I know who've like left academia and done things, those are 2 things they do right away. I mean, I don't know anyone who's doing things like further down the line, not off the top of my head, but good luck. Mishkabear says, is long-form writing, essays for instance, something you'd be interested in? I love your writing style and it would be a great supplement to produce. So I think about it. I think as I get older in particular, and like, you know, I'm not selling, my face isn't quite selling it anymore, I might try to switch to being more of a writer. But depending on what the media climate is then, because my other plan is to be kind of like, you know, just change my persona with age and become sort of like trans Lucille Bluth, which is already, I'm already kind of halfway there with like these like Cruella de Vil looks I've been giving in the last few videos. But yeah, I don't have time right now to write, but I just got an offer from Verso Books to like write a book. They offered me on Twitter, so I should actually get in touch with them about that. I don't know, I used to like dream of publishing a book, but now I'm like, I don't know, I'm busy making videos. But I'm sure I could write a book, I don't know. It's something that's in the back of my head, yeah. Dang says, who is your most hated philosopher to read and why is it Hegel? Good question. Well, let's find some Hegel. I'm just gonna open a new window here and just phenomenology of spirit, and we're gonna go to a random page and just have a sample of this. Let's see here. The spirit manifested in revealed religion has not as yet surmounted its attitude of consciousness as such, or what is the same thing, its actual self-consciousness is not at this stage the object it is aware of. Spirit as a whole, and the moments distinguished in it, fall within the sphere of figurative thinking, and within the form of objectivity. The content of this figurative thought is absolute spirit. All that remains to be done now is to cancel and transcend this bare form, or better, because the form appertains to consciousness as such, its true meaning must have already come out in the shapes or modes consciousness has assumed. This is the first paragraph of a section. Like, you can sit there for an hour and figure out what it means, but like, this book is 300 pages long. I rest my case. Okay. Chase Debnam says, your later video aesthetics remind me of Nicholas Winding Refn, especially Neon Demon. Are you a fan? Yes, I'm a fan. In short. And why do you hate Derrida so much? I don't know. I just find the professors I had who taught Derrida were always really annoying and name drop would always be like, and like I just find his writing very inaccessible and difficult and unnecessarily difficult. I don't know. I don't really hate any philosophers anymore because I don't have to read them anymore. Like, I hated them when I had to read them, but now I'm free. I'm free of it. It's like, you don't really like hate your shitty middle school teacher 10 years later, you know? Because you only hate them when you have to deal with them. I don't hate Derrida. I don't hate Hegel. I just like, I'm glad I no longer am employed engaging with them. Cozy Carol says, would you ever be interested in discussing food, nutrition, fatness framing, etc. again? Would love to see discuss more of that subject. Perhaps I could imagine it coming up again on a slow month. You know, if you know, the socialists win in 2020 and life gets better, less material for me to work with, yeah, perhaps I could do a video about nutrition. It's conceivable. The Scotch in the North says, what are the best and worst movies you've seen this year? What have I seen this year? I saw Hereditary. That was disturbing but good. I saw Sorry to Bother You. That was good. Ooh, and I'm getting leftist cred with that one too. Good. Yeah, that was good. What else? What did I see that was bad? I feel like me and Lindsay go to bad movies sometimes. Have we seen anything bad? The new Jumanji was surprisingly good. What else? Was there anything that was... Oh, God! Yes! We saw 50 Shades darker. No, 50 Shades Freed, which is truly awful. And I say this as someone who kind of likes the first 50 Shades of Grey movie, well, parts of it anyway. But the third one, it's like, it's so bad that there's nothing even enjoyable about the badness. Francis says, why do you think TERFs are given so much more publicity in the British liberal press than in the American one? It may be that the UK is more right-wing on social issues in general, and so the Overton window is kind of like more in that direction, especially the press. I don't fully understand it myself. Honestly, I'm always asking people from the UK about this, like why is it so turfy over there? If someone can answer this, I'd like to hear about it. I'm visiting the UK in about a month. I'm a little nervous about all of this turfiness I've been observing from afar. Of course, not that America's like, you know, a great fortress of tolerance exactly, but you know. Nicole Russell says, hi Natalie, thank you again for the Boston meetup. Oh, it made my husband and I's week. Well, I'm glad. After I watched the same video, Megan... Oh. Question, you've given me a lot of great advice, but I'm curious about a difficult subject. Critiquing the left from the left without coming off as a tone-policing asshole. How did you make this a fine art? What is the trick to being deeply empathetic without sympathizing with the devil in others' eyes? Or how do you cope with others thinking that about you? Teach me, I want to be a social justice ambassador when I grow up too. Yes, critiquing the left from within the left. No matter how you do it, there will always be some people who accuse you of being tone policing assholes. So just you accept that. I mean, I have found that I can do a whole lot of stuff in fiction that I can't do. You know, I can't just... Do not tweet, first of all. Don't tweet anything, because Twitter is bad, and everything you do there will fail. At least if you're me. So maybe you're great at Twitter. I'm not good at it. But I would say that it just has to be very clear. You have to always you have to be like very cautious, I guess, to assert that you're doing this because you have the success of the movement or the cause in mind, right? Not that you're just like trolling from the outside, right? Because a lot of people do concern troll, like this is why the left loses, like right. So you have to make sure that it's clear that you're not doing that, that you really do like have everyone's success in mind. Ohad Breka, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Would you be interested in doing a video about the Israeli-Palestine conflict, or better yet, on nationalism from a philosophical point of view, at least an American left point of view? Oh God, absolutely not. Talk about a topic that would just like a significant portion of, no matter what I said about that, a significant portion of my audience would just dump me, I think. So I just don't know enough about it. Like, I don't know enough about that topic to competently make a video about it, I'm afraid. Second question, have you read Yuval Noah Harari? I have not. I actually don't know who that is. I'll have to look him up later. Thank you, dear. Phobos2390 says, would you be interested in doing a video on the difference between fascism and socialism and explaining their differences? It's sort of a right-wing talking point that fascism is leftist and socialist. Maybe. I sort of like lately my videos tend less to deal with like really like technical. My videos always have never really dealt with like really technical distinctions between like different philosophical ideologies. I guess in some ways I view myself more as like a commentator on internet culture than I do a like political scientist or anything, you know. Like but if it comes up very more often, I think I might mention it. I personally, the sense I get personally is that like fascism is like not going to be as much of an issue in a couple of years. That's my hope anyway. But there's a chance that I'll mention that. Owen Colley says, hey Natalie, Your work is excellent, and I really love all your essays. They're very articulated brilliantly. Thank you, dear. Thank you, dear. My question. I'm a medical doctor from the UK, and I really liked the psychiatry video. I thought it raised important and valid points. I was considering making a sort of response to this to try to detail ways in which the US and UK medical industries work. However, I know this is an old video of yours, and I don't want to dredge anything up that had raised dysphoria. Would you be okay with a video response being made to one of your old videos? I don't mind old video responses to old videos. I don't watch my old videos, but you can. I think that video is not great in my memory, by the way. I think that one was kind of made in a bit of a hurry. But I think what I said in it was true of my attitudes at the time, certainly. Alternative question, is there any changes within the culture of doctors, medical folks that you'd like to see? Well, I'm lucky. I have a very good hospital to go to near me that's like very trans positive, but I would say a significant change would be more awareness about trans people and how to treat trans people and respect trans people, because I know that more generally this is a major issue, and I'm like afraid of being in a situation where I'm like, I don't know, where I have to get medical treatment from a doctor that I don't know in some part of the country or world that might be more hostile, and like having that just be a nightmare experience, which is very imaginable, and I've heard stories. Okay. Danebo says, I know when things were really taking off for me on YouTube, everyone would always say this is great, but what do you want to do with your life? At its core, I always wanted to be an independent filmmaker, animator, and through YouTube, I'm able to do just that. So just being a YouTuber makes me happy. I'm always interested in hearing other creators' perspectives on this. For yourself, do you see YouTube and your content creators as a springboard to other things? Any insight into those other things, or are you just happy crafting your films for patrons and YouTube, at least for now? I'm honestly, like, I'm perfectly content with simply continuing to make these videos. I mean, at this point, my channel is growing at such a rate that I'm starting to get like offers to do other things, and that, you know, people start asking questions like, okay, so what's next? What's next? What's next? And I sort of don't know. Because in a way, I don't want to do a different thing. Like, this is like best case scenario for me already, is that I get to do this as a job. Like, get to, you know, have total creative control over this, and like I get to make a living doing this thing that I love. Like, that's amazing. And I don't spend a lot of time like fantasizing about what's, you know, what else I want to do. So I guess that's your answer. But yeah, I get those comments too. People always say like, so what do you want to do next? Like, are you going to get a show on MTV or whatever? I'm like, I don't really want to do that. Keep fighting the good fight. Hoping you have another meetup in LA. Yeah, me too. Thanks, Dane. Lobo says, hi, Natalie. Thank you for your great work. I have a question. I saw or read somewhere that according to YouTube subscription analytics, social commentary channels with an anti-SJW perspective like Sargon Thunderfoot, Amazing Atheist, are dying out, while those with left perspectives such as yours, Sean, and Three Arrows are on the rise, gaining more subscriptions. Do you know if this is true, where such analytics can be viewed, if they're available, and if it's true, do they have any thoughts on this encouraging do you have any thoughts on this encouraging phenomenon? So you can track this kind of thing on Social Blade. I tend not to do that. I actually don't devote very much time to looking at my own analytics at all. Like, my videos, I just make my focus online is making really good videos. I don't think about tags. I don't think about metadata. I don't think about analytics. I don't think about targeting my audience, to catering my content to an audience. I literally just make shit that I want to make. So I don't know. I guess I think it's true, though, what you're saying, that there is a change in, you know, obviously my channel has like well over 200,000 subscribers. That happened in a few months, right? It doubled. My channel doubled in the last few months. So yeah, my channel is going up, up, up. And I don't think that anti-SJW channels are experiencing significant growth. No. So I agree. It's very encouraging. Christopher Lee says, what is your favorite car? I don't know anything about cars. Like, nothing. I don't know if I don't know if I know enough about cars to favorite car. The car is the car that like gets me places. That's not a very ContraPoints attitude to have. I don't know. You can't be like a fan of everything. Like, it's good to have, like, you can't like pursue like luxury in every aspect of life because that's, you know. But yeah, I'll probably never own a luxury car. There's no reason. No reason. I prefer to spend the money on cutting my face up. Rachel Vogel says, "Hi Natalie. Interested in your take on the Avatar Ronald," is that how you pronounce her name? She's very famous, I know. Situation. Sexual harassment case, New Yorker article leaked by letter signed by Butler, and specifically Lisa Duggan's blog post about it. I think it's a disgrace and a shame and an embarrassment for the whole field of, you know, critical German-inspired leftist theory. I think I think the case, based on what I've read of it, is unambiguously it's unambiguous like sexual misconduct, totally inappropriate for a professor, and the fact that it's trying to be passed off as anything but by people like Judith Butler and Slavoj Žižek just reveals them as a bunch of hypocrites, in my view, who I'm losing more and more respect for as this whole thing goes on. Yeah, no, I mean, it's like, it's common knowledge that in philosophy, like, many professors of both sexes are just like sex fiends, are sex pests. I know of at least another female professor in philosophy who has like, threatened students and demanded affection, sexual affection, and romantic affection from them. Like, and she has not been outed yet, but like, these people are out there. And of course the male professors, it's just rampant. Glad I got out of that. Jessica Loganoff says, "The capacity for empathy and understanding you showed in your incels video sets an example I will do my best to strive for. You're so good. Do you get a lot of junk mail?" I do. I do too, Jessica. What is the deal with junk mail? I'm glad you liked the incels video. Amos Ben Israel says, "Do you have any plans to do a video with Tatiana Tankikova again, or even one about her?" No immediate plans, no. The character... I don't see it playing a major role for a couple of reasons. One is I can't do a Russian accent at all, and the other is that going after tankies is just going to be a bunch of pointless drama on Twitter that I don't want to deal with. And I'm like, in my opinion, like, tankies are not like a significant social problem of our time. Like, yeah, it's like very annoying if you're like in leftist internet spaces, but it's not, this is not something that I feel compelled to make a whole video about now. Charlotte says, "What's the best way for someone who's less informed about social issues like myself to catch up?" Honestly, I think like watching YouTube videos, watching lots of YouTube videos about this stuff, including lots of like the social justice-y people, keeping in mind that all these people basically disagree with each other. So I would say watch lots of people's videos about it. Try to see things the way they see it, and then learn about what the different controversies are, and you can sort of form reserved opinions about like the different views of things. But yeah, I would say YouTube is actually not a bad place to start. It's more accessible than most platforms. Maya Gaster Mole says, "I tweeted about ContraPoints Gone Chapel already. Do you listen to the Chapel Trap House podcast? Have you ever gotten your hands on their book?" I have listened to some of them. I am planning to go on. I have not read the book. Up Chuckles says, "A favorite Kubrick movie? I think I'm going to be contrarian and say that it's Barry Lyndon, which is an aesthetically beautiful movie that has lots of great like 18th century dress in it. I want to change the music, I'm sorry. I love 18th century costumes. I love all that foppish nonsense. The dresses and even the men's fashion, and I love it. Anna Lohiko, I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing that. Anna Lohiko. Have you read anything by Karl Popper? Do you have any thoughts about him or his philosophies? I did when I was a philosophy student, yes. I don't really remember much except the like famous, falsification idea. And that's an interesting... It's not like I don't think it's the last word about science or truth, but I think it's a useful thing to talk about when talking about proof and evidence, totally. Scarlet Crow says, "Hi Natalie, if you're into it, I love to write a punk theme song for Tabby. I really enjoy and relate to the character, except I'm in no way versed in communist literature or history. Also, if you're ever interested in the perspective of a trans porn actress, punk rock performer, and real-life Nazi puncher, among other things, I'd love to talk sometime. Also, should you find yourself around Portland, you have a safe place to crash in the guest room of my house. Thank you, dear. I will let you know if I'm wandering the streets of Portland anytime soon. And good luck with the punk theme song. I'd like to hear it." Gary Marshall says, "How far can you throw a frisbee?" Not very far. Fiona says, "Hi Natalie, thank you for the lively discussion about incels yesterday. I have a few questions not related to incels that I didn't ask since they didn't fit into the flow of the conversation. Here they are. 1. How do you choose your topics?" Inspiration. Like I'm as I'm like going through the day, like reading things on Twitter, reading articles, I'll come across a topic that just really interests me, or I have an idea, a vision in my head of like, usually if I make a video, it's because I'm thinking about it a lot anyway, and then I just kind of like the thoughts that are going on about it just like sort of bursts into a video idea, and I'm like, okay, I'm writing. 2, ContraPoints seems to have gained momentum with all this entails: growing audience, more followers, a tighter schedule. Yes. Quo vadis ContraPoints from here. I don't know. We'll see. I don't really know what I'm doing at this point because I would never anticipated the channel getting this big. So I guess I'm literally just winging it here. I'm playing it by ear. I want to keep making the videos I'm making. That's all I want to do, like. But I don't know. I get invited to like. I don't just get invited to conferences anymore. People are like, "I want you to be the keynote speaker at this event." And I don't know, I could probably just be a full-time like campus speaker at this point. That's not really what I want to do though. 3, is there a chance you'll be speaking in Europe at some point? There's a chance, yes. I just got invited to speak at a university in Ireland. I should get back to them. There's a chance, yes, but basically it just depends who invites me to do a thing and offers to pay me to fly there. Okay. Joseph Rojas. Hey Natalie, you've mentioned in the past that one of the most difficult aspects of being a full-time YouTuber, and particularly being a trans femme influencer online presence, is being forced to be so vulnerable and open yourself up to transphobic attacks from bigots, haters, and trolls, as well as harsh critiques from fans who more or less agree with you. That said, how do you feel about, especially your cis stans, sharing or retweeting, otherwise expanding your visibility? Some may say that it's unavoidable, but to an extent I would feel guilty if, beyond exposing your content to allies, friends, and sympathizers, I revealed your content to someone that went on to say or do horrible / triggering things. Oh, sweetheart, we're way past the point of no return on that, so share away. A couple extra comments, that is not going to make a difference. Thank you, though. Lanzinator says, did you watch Philosophy Tube's video on Elon Musk that just came out? It's pretty fun. Yes, I did. I thought that Ollie has... I love his conclusion about Elon Musk, which I think is definitely something that, I was thinking about this too, with like Slavoj Žižek and Judith Butler coming to Avital Ronald's defense. Like, if you're a talented radical, capitalism will pay you off. That's kind of where we're all headed. So about that. Cosmic Rage says, what is your opinion about the so-called affair? After asking since the publication of that RGD paper with incredibly poor research methodology reminded me of it. TLDR, for those not aware of what it was, physics professor Alan Sokol wrote an intentionally nonsense paper for submission to a postmodern cultural studies journal to see if the editors would recognize that the paper was abstract nonsense. It got published and sparked a controversy when Sokol revealed what he did. Derrida in particular was not amused. I think that the scandal is less damning than it seems, because the journal it was published in was like not a huge journal. It was not a peer-reviewed journal. It was an opinion journal. I think that this kind of sloppiness about editing of these journals is actually something that you can find across academia and not exclusive to social theory. But I also think that just a lot of just junk gets published. A lot of academic junk gets published, and that made it in. So I don't find it particularly significant. Although I certainly agree there is a lot of junk being published in, you know, critical theory. But that this is an old story anyway. But yeah, academia continues to produce a lot of pointless words. Yes. Fox Green says, what's your go-to hangover cure? I'm nursing one today and already had a box of mac and cheese. It had a wonderful mouthfeel. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Fox. I've been drinking a lot of Diet Coke during the day, I guess. That's ContraPoints. Diet Coke. Buy things now. That should be my advertising slogan. Buy things now. Yeah, I like to eat like vegetables to make me feel better about myself. Maybe a smoothie, caffeine, some Advil. That usually takes care of it for me. I have to pee, guys. Oh wait, I'm almost done. Can I make it? I can make it. Okay, Sarah Jane Webster says, last year I came across a YouTube rendition of the book Society of the Spectacle. Ah yes. Have you heard of it or read it? I've heard it floated in certain circles, but I'm having a really hard time parsing it and placing it within any actionable or useful context. If you've read it, I'd love some tips. Otherwise, tips on approaching a particularly challenging work without a classroom structure would be great. Okay, so with Society of the Spectacle, that's a big enough book. That's a big enough. That's a popular enough book that you can probably find like spark notes on it, so you could just start there. I did read that in undergraduate, and it's situationism, right? I don't remember that much about it. I liked it at the time, but I was a little edgy shit at the time, so I don't know if that means it's good. But yeah, it's fun to engage with that kind of thing. Yeah, I would look for. Oh, this is like amazing professorial advice I'm dishing out. Read the spark notes. I mean, that's what we all do, right? Kiana Kirsten says, did you grow up around many conservatives? And if so, how has this influenced your desire to convert the alt-right? If not, what is the thing you're most excited about in your upcoming video? I grew up in Northern Virginia around conservatism, but not really close to me because my parents are both liberals. Like, not like leftists, but like they voted for Kerry, Gore, Obama, you know. I would say that when I'm trying to, I had friends in high school who, some of whom are now like far-right lobbyists and things. And I do think about them sometimes because I know they read Breitbart and stuff. So I do think back to them. I'm like, how can I get those boys back in my claws? You know, totally. I guess it does influence me. What am I excited about my upcoming video? I just ordered like 15 pairs of eyelashes. Someone has so many fucking eyelashes. Like, I'm excited about that. Costumes. I'm trying to like, I feel like I'm always like, people who describe my channel, like journalists and stuff, when they describe me, they always like praise my costume. They're like a lavish display of outrageous costumes. And I'm like, I feel like my costumes aren't super great, you know? Like, I'm trying to, like, catch up to the reputation my channel has for having good costumes. So I'm really working on the costumes. And especially since I have the budget now to do more, to genuinely, like, lavish costumes. I'm working on it. And I do love that sort of thing, so I'm excited. Annoyance says, what kind of sushi do you like? I like a lot of eel and shrimp-based ones myself. I also love octopus, but I think I'm alone on the Tentacle Friends game most of the time. Yes. So, vegans, cover your ears. Yeah, I love eel. I love tuna. I love salmon. I love... Yeah, I just... raw fish is so good. Put it inside me, please. Yeah, eel's delicious. To me, yeah, octopus is actually not that great as sushi, I think, because like it's just kind of like flavorless, but I do like the tentacles. The fascinating texture of tentacles is very, very satisfying. Okay. Dog Revolution. I don't know why this name is so amusing to me. Dog Revolution. It's so funny. Why do I think that's so funny? Okay. Thanks for everything you do. My question has to do with feeling valid. I have been exploring my gender ID for the past several months, and I have begun to feel more comfortable using they/them pronouns and identifying as non-binary. My partner and the friends who know have been supportive, but I feel like an imposter, especially because I'm AMAB and primarily attracted to women. I've walked around all my life with cis dude privilege, and even though this change feels right for me, I also feel like I'm appropriating queerness. Any tips for working through these feelings, not being a piece of garbage? Thanks again. So I would say that, like, basically anyone. My understanding, I'm not non-binary at this point, and I don't really track closely exactly what the wokest view of how to use they and them pronouns is, but my understanding is that like anyone who wants to use they them pronouns is like entirely entitled to do so. As far as like not appropriating queerness, like not being a piece of garbage, it sounds like the fact that you're worried about this so much means that you're probably good. Like the people who are sort of in danger of that are the people who are not worrying about it. I think for the most part. So if you're taking up an inordinate amount of space and like, I don't know, LGBT activism or communities, or you're like loudly expostulating about how oppressed you are as a person who uses they them pronouns, like that could possibly be annoying, but like it sounds like you're not doing that. It sounds like your inclination is everything opposite to that. So I think you're a good girl. I mean them. I use girl as a gender neutral way to address. Like it sounds like you're fine to me. I don't think you need to have anything to worry about. I'm gonna pee. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna see if there's any last questions. And it's raining outside. Listen to that. Okay, I'll be right back. Taking this with me. Hello, boys! I'm always saying hello, boys. I should say hello, girls more. Hello, girls! It's just not as satisfying to me as saying hello, boys. I don't know why. I just glanced over to the chat and I see feudalism was also a success. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Let's see. Where's my thing? Oh, oops. Okay, here it is. Yeah, we got some new questions. Spider Fact says, great name. Hi, I don't have any good questions. Hope you have a lovely day. Thank you, darling. Vice says, what's a costume you're looking forward to using? Well, I am doing... I guess I'll show you guys this. Hold on, I'll be right back. Patreon only exclusive. Here are some nails that I just got that I'm going to use in my next video, so I'm excited for nails. I don't want to give away too much, but you'll see. It was beautiful. Alright, what's the proper response? Sorry, Cosmic Rage. What's the proper response to folks like Jesse Singal and Deborah So that have lots of journalistic influence, but are terrible at listening to criticism and block well-educated critics? I don't know, man. I'm like trying to figure this out myself. Like, I don't know. I tried having what I thought was a fairly reasonable criticism of Jesse on Twitter, but he just blocked me, so... I agree that that's the situation. Like, the guy has a lot of journalistic influence. So, like, you don't want to just, like... you know, you want to make sure that your criticisms of him are something that, like, the average progressive journalist could read and understand, you know? Because if it's not incomprehensible, then you just seem like a bunch of crazies. So, yeah, it is a dilemma. And I certainly haven't figured it out. I'm blocked! Maybe he'll unblock me someday. Jesse, please unblock me. Oh, some people commented questions on the stream post. I guess I'll look at these, since I feel like I did this pretty quickly. Also, I'll give you some extra content here. Have you looked into the activism group Represent.us? I have not. So the second half of the question isn't relevant, but it sounds like I should. Jeffrey Skarsky says, what's your thoughts about the intersection between access to vocabulary of respectful discourse and social class? I'm behind the idea that political correctness is a code phrase for people who think it should be acceptable to abuse people, but I can't help noticing over and over again different ways in which my own ability to comprehend, adopt, and express a respectful view of people different from myself is an outgrowth of my own privilege. I know, I think about this all the time. I don't claim to really know the truth of anyone's heart, but I meet lots of people who say problematic things for which I find I can draw a plausible connection to say poverty is a factor inhibiting the sorts of skills and interests that predispose one to social conscientiousness. If you perceive the same conflict here as I do, how might one resolve it? This is a huge deal, Jeffrey. I think that especially in a lot of like online communities, like not using exactly the right phraseology gets you like excommunicated instantly. Whereas like a lot of people, a lot of the reason I know anything about like, you know, some of the topics I know about has to do with the fact that I'm educated, which is a factor of which is my stems out of my privilege, right? So I think a certain degree of like measured patience is it goes a long way, right? Understand that people can be basically coming from a good place, even though they may not know like the right words to say exactly. I try to be very patient with people with like trans ideology and this stuff, and I distinguish between like someone who just literally doesn't know. Like I was having a conversation with a guy once, and he used like the T slur, like the hard, like he said tranny, and like I was like, but he said it in a way that suggested that like he had no idea it was bad, and so I had to be like, that's not really the best word to use. I don't know. It's because I think that the time I notice this most is like people who don't know anything about like other cultures, for example, because they haven't like had a chance to travel, you know, or learn. So I do think that there's a kind of privilege or kind of almost like snobbery sometimes. This is the thing that used to drive me crazy with the cultural appropriation debate. Like there would be white people on that like arguing with me that like eating bad sushi is cultural appropriation and problematic, whereas eating like good, authentic Japanese expensive sushi is good. And it's like, you're just bashing poor people who eat shitty sushi. Like that's literally what this is. You're bashing this is like snobbery masquerading as social justice. That's what I used to think. Domino Stars says, how does one reverse objectification? Is there any way to teach an incel to see the humanity of a woman? I'm obviously not expecting an answer from you, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. I don't know. Like if someone just like straight up doesn't view women as people, like that's a pretty serious situation that I don't have an idea on like how to reverse, you know? I think on some level people tend to know that that's wrong, but like I when someone's in that deep, like I don't know. I think that's a good question. It's something I'll think about that. Sarah E. Adrian says, do you ever enjoy a hearty plate of nachos? Very rarely, but it's been known to happen. Thomas Heston says, you've talked a little bit about it, but do you have anything else you'd add about vocal training regimen? I haven't been doing that much vocal training lately, to be honest. I just don't have time for it. I actually have been kind of experimenting with like lowering the pitch of my voice a bit and just trying to speak with feminine resonance in a lower pitch range, which I think sort of very like sticking that like contralto range, which I think it sort of suits me a little better. I think my voice sounds a little bit strained in that like upper range, but at the same time, if I'm speaking down in that lower register, I'm risking getting misgendered on the phone. So I don't know. It's a difficult decision. The voice training is an ongoing thing for me. I'm just going to be working on this for the next few years until I sort of settle into something that really works. I really recommend finding. I don't know if I should. It's really helpful to find someone who knows what they're talking about voice training to help you with it and give you personal feedback. Like I really do suggest doing that. Like you don't need to pay for like a ton of like voice lessons or anything, but just like get occasional personalized feedback. If you have to pay someone, that's fine on your own, and they'll give you like exercises to do and things like that. Paparazzi says, what do you think about the parasocial relationship with your audience? In the past, you alluded to the fact that your thoughts on the matter were complicated. It seemed you've been trying to make the difference between character and yourself extra clear lately. Yeah, so this is less of a problem for me than it used to be. I think it's at least like I think my audience still has a parasocial relationship with me, but I think I have been cured of the illusion that my fans are my friends. Like I figured that part out. I've really matured in that way as a creator, where I sort of realized that like I know that there's an artificiality to these. Not an artificiality, because I'm like right now, like I'm being myself, like I am. Doesn't feel very performative to me when I'm doing these like AMAs, for example. But I know that, like, you know, what people are fans of is not like Natalie, the person who drinks too much Diet Coke, but like ContraPoints, this YouTube channel. All right, one more question, and then we'll leave it at that. What's a cost? Oh wait, I already answered that one. I don't feel like answering these questions. All right, I answered all the $10 patron questions. These are just extra questions. These are easier. I'm just answering these on my own time, just for fun. Oh, here's a question. Here's a good question. What are some things that you've changed your mind about since starting this channel and becoming more active? The cultural appropriation video is bad. Should not have been doing that makeup. I've said this a couple of times. I wish I hadn't done that. I think that my genderqueer video is also bad. The video about I am genderqueer, it's bad because I'm wrong. Like, I'm wrong about my own gender. And I think that, unfortunately, this concerns me a little bit. Because people use that video as like an explanation of what being non-binary is, and I don't think it's a good explanation of that, because I think what I was an egg, and like someone who's just in a transitional state, like about to transition and is still in the state like I can't transition because I'm too tall. Like, that's not what non-binary is. So I should probably post like notices on that video and the cultural appropriation video, being like, this is bad, I'm sorry. I keep meaning to do that. I haven't gotten around to it. Okay guys, this was a nice little stream. These were pleasant questions. I'm also just like buzzing on this Diet Coke. Like, caffeine is good, isn't it? Like, I used to I think this is what happens as you get like older and more like busy in life, is that you can't like drink so much booze all the time as I used to, but I just drink more. I'm like a teacher. Like, teachers always have like a thing of caffeine, right? They're like, that's me now. That's me, just an art teacher. An art teacher full of caffeine. All right, bye guys.